He didn't cheat, he prepared, and I was stupid enough to think I was the one in control. I created a fake account to test him. He had already created one, to protect himself from me. That's the night I realized I wasn't catching a liar. I was walking into a strategy. I didn't start with suspicion. I started with small discomfort, the kind you try to ignore. His phone turned face down, a new password, messages that disappeared too quickly. It didn't look dramatic. It looked calculated. We had been together for almost 3 years. No chaos, no screaming fights, just routine. And somehow, routine started feeling staged. One night I told him, "I feel like you're pulling away." He didn't argue. He stepped closer, looked directly into my eyes. "You're imagining things," he said softly. "You overthink." And here's the dangerous part. When someone speaks calmly enough, you start doubting your own instincts. So I told myself it was anxiety, that I was insecure, that I was creating problems. But the pattern didn't stop. He laughed at his phone differently, took calls in another room, closed apps too fast. One night, in the reflection of the window, I saw a woman's name on his screen. He flipped it over instantly. "Work," he said, too quickly. And that's when something shifted. Not jealousy, humiliation. Because he wasn't even trying to lie better. He assumed I wouldn't question him. There's one thing I know now that I didn't know then. If someone is innocent, they don't become more careful. They become more open. And he was careful. Not scared, prepared. And that's when I made a decision. Not to confront him, not to ask more questions. I decided to test him. I didn't create the fake account out of anger. I created it out of clarity. New name, new photos. A softer version of me. Someone less complicated. Someone easier to like. I sent him a simple message. Nothing flirty, nothing obvious. He replied in 2 minutes. 2. That's when I stopped hoping I was wrong. We talked for a week. He was charming, attentive, curious. "You're easy to talk to," he wrote. I stared at that sentence. He had said it to me before, word for word. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. He wasn't improvising. He had scripts. The strangest part wasn't the flirting. It was how smoothly he switched between us. Morning, "Did you sleep well, baby?" Afternoon, "You're different. I like that." 2 tones, 2 rhythms, 2 women. And I started asking myself, which version of him was real? The one lying next to me? Or the one typing to someone else? Or maybe he didn't have a real version at all. One day, I decided not to text him from the fake account. I disappeared. I wanted to see who would chase. A few hours later, my phone buzzed. "Hey, you vanished. Everything okay?" 5 minutes later, the same message, from him to me. 2 identical texts, 2 different women, 1 calculated man. That's when the story changed. He wasn't confused. He wasn't tempted. He was rehearsed. That night, he looked at me carefully. "You're quiet today," he said. Too carefully. I forced a smile, and for the first time, a thought hit me like cold water. What if he already knows? What if this isn't my test? What if I'm part of his? Instead of stopping, I pushed further. I asked him to meet. The day of the meeting felt unreal. He was different that morning, calmer than usual, attentive in a way he hadn't been for weeks. "You look beautiful today," he said when I picked up my bag. I froze for half a second. He hadn't complimented me like that in a long time. It felt rehearsed. Or maybe I was just looking for meaning in everything. "Thanks," I said. He looked at me a little longer than necessary, and for a split second I wondered, does he know? I arrived at the cafe 20 minutes early. I chose a table in the corner, back to the door. I wanted to see him through the reflection in the glass before he saw me. Control. I still believed I had it. My heart was beating faster than I expected, not because I was scared of losing him, because I was about to confirm something. There are moments in life when you know that after this, nothing will be the same. This was one of them. While I waited, I imagined different outcomes. In one version, he walks in, sees me, and freezes. His face drops. He stutters. He apologizes. In that version, I'm powerful. In another version, he doesn't show up at all. And that hurts, but at least it's simple. But there was one version I never considered, the one where he isn't surprised. The door opened. I saw his reflection first. He didn't look confused. He didn't look nervous. He scanned the room once, and then he walked directly toward me, not hesitating, not searching, straight to my table. He pulled the chair out calmly, sat down, looked at me, and said, "I knew it was you." No anger, no accusation, just certainty. I felt something inside me shift. "How?" I asked. He leaned back slightly, studying me. "You think I wouldn't recognize the way you write?" He smiled faintly. "You always build tension before asking something important." He wasn't mocking me. He was analyzing me. "I wanted to see how far you'd go," he continued, asking questions, playing a role, waiting for proof. My mouth went dry. I had imagined confrontation. I hadn't imagined dissection. "You're not the first," he said casually. The sentence landed heavier than anything else. "What do you mean?" "You're not the first woman who tried to test me." The cafe noise suddenly felt distant. "And what do you do when that happens?" I asked. He held my gaze. "I give them what they're looking for. A reason to leave." It wasn't cruel. It was methodical. And then something from the beginning of our relationship resurfaced. I once asked him early on, "Have you ever cheated?" He smiled in that same controlled way. "I don't do anything I'm not prepared for." Back then, I thought it meant loyalty. Now I realized it meant calculation. He didn't argue in the cafe. He didn't raise his voice. He just watched me process. And I understood something terrifying. This wasn't the first time he had sat across from someone like me. He had experience. That night, he didn't come home. An hour later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number, a file attached. I opened it. It was screenshots of my fake account, but the conversations weren't mine. There were flirty messages, plans to meet, subtle invitations. My stomach dropped. The phone rang immediately after. "I figured you'd try something," he said calmly. "So I made sure I had protection." "Protection from what?" I whispered. "From the narrative," he replied. Silence. "I don't cheat," he said evenly. "I ensure." The next morning, he texted our friends. We decided to end things peacefully. Peacefully. I stared at that word for a long time because nothing about it felt peaceful. It felt controlled, contained, pre-written. And here's the part that keeps me awake sometimes. The scariest thing isn't that he anticipated my move. It isn't that he had backup plans. It's that when I left, I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt aware. And after that night, I started preparing too.